With this one, I'm starting a new mini-series called Bulgarian Breakfast Classics, where I'll be making some of my favorite breakfast items that I grew up eating. We're starting with the Princesa toast. And yes, it does mean a princess. But until a few days ago, I didn't know why either. I found a legend saying that one of the Bulgarian Tsars was regrouping his army for a battle the following day. They had set up camp outside of this small settlement and needed food. But all they had was some stale bread. A girl from the settlement then came to the Tsar and she said she might have a solution. But if she did manage to feed his army, she wanted to be made a princess. The Tsar was like, okay girl, you're on. She collected scraps and leftovers from the peasants and put bits of cheese, vegetables and meat on slices of stale bread and toasted them on the fire. The soldiers were super happy and the Tsar kept his promise. Now, I don't know how much truth there is to this story, but it sounds cute, so we're gonna go with that. Okay, first Princesa is gonna be with egg and cheese. In a bowl, I'm gonna crack one egg. To that, I'm gonna add a small pinch of salt. I'm being careful with the salt because I'm also adding cheese and that's already salty. I also like to add a small pinch of savory. It's also sometimes called summer savory. In Bulgarian, that's chubrica. If you've never had it and I had to describe it, I'd say it's kind of like dried oregano. But savory or chubrica is very prominent in Bulgarian cuisine and you're gonna keep seeing it throughout the video. So if you're planning on making any of these, try to get yourself some of this stuff. Now I'm also gonna crumble in some white cheese, ideally Bulgarian, but feta would also do. I should have scrambled my egg before I added the cheese, but I'm talking too much and I got distracted. That's fine, it's not a problem. And I intentionally crumbled the cheese into bigger chunks because as I'm mixing it, some of it is gonna break down and emulsify with the egg. Now I'm just gonna cut myself a few nice slices of bread and I'm gonna toast them on one side because the topping is quite wet and I don't want them to get soggy. Okay, nice. And now I'm just gonna spread the topping. Be generous with this, but not gratuitous, and try to go all the way to the edges. And I'll throw these back in the oven until they're nice and golden brown and cooked through. These are creamy, light, savory, cheesy. Oh, I'm going in, and my favorite way of crushing these is with a nice cold glass of ayran. Oh, what is ayran, you might ask? It's just half and half yogurt and water with a pinch of salt. Hands down, the best drink to enjoy these with. Okay, Princesa number 2 is gonna be for the carnivores. What I have here is 650 grams of a mixed pork and veal that's about 10% fat. Ideally, you want about 20% fat, but get what you can and a mix of what you like. To that, I've added a couple of big pinches of salt, some black pepper, cumin, and some savory. At this point, you can crack in an egg, but instead, I've added 10% of the weight of the meat, or 65 grams of neutral oil, and an equal amount of sparkling water. Now give this a really good mix, at least for a few minutes. You see that the texture is gonna change, it's gonna become a lot more smooth and bouncy to the touch. I actually mixed this yesterday and I left it in the fridge, but in a pinch, of course, you can mix everything together right before you make the toasts. You can skip all the optional steps, but the one thing you should do is mix it really well. That being said, if you do mix it a day or two in advance, you're gonna get a lot better flavor and texture. Okay, so as you can see, I have a different loaf of bread, and the reason why is because we're gonna make a variation of this Princesa that's from the East Coast. This is the stranjenka. The main differences being that the bread is sliced lengthwise, so you get these really long toasts, and they're also cooked upside down on a grill. So I'm gonna do my best here to cut a nice straight slice. And joke's on me, look at this crumb. It's super open and it's not ideal for this, but we're gonna make it work. Luckily, we're gonna cook it upside down, so it shouldn't be that much of a problem. The only thing now is that I want to check if this is going to fit in my grill pan, which it doesn't, so I'm going to have to trim it a little bit. I think I have to take about an inch off of each side. There it is. And of course, you don't have to slice the bread like this, you can just cut it like a normal person. Now I'm just gonna take some of my mixture and spread it onto the slice. Get all the way to the edges. You want it not too thin, not too thick. Let me just check the hole here, looks good. Now here's a little trick. I like to add a little bit of oil onto the spatula and then just sort of tap it onto the top. It's just insurance against sticking. And onto the grill it goes. Fun fact, this is the first time I'm cooking it like this. Usually I cook them in the oven, but I'm such a fan of this variation that I decided that this time I'm gonna give this a try. Now let's just hope that this is not stuck. Beautiful. I'm gonna let this cook on this side for a couple of minutes so I can get the bottom crispy and pick up some of those juices. The only thing that I'm missing now is some herb salt, or what it's called charna salt. You can make some yourself by mixing salt, dry oregano, savory, paprika, a pinch of cornmeal, and I'm just gonna grind everything into a fine powder. Put that on top. And you're laughing. Check out the bottom's nice and crisp. I'm going in. Tremendous. Ah, so good. This is comfort food. Okay, this is the bonus round. We're gonna make a third one that's a tribute to a bakery in Sofia that unfortunately no longer exists, but from which I have very fond memories during the time I lived there. I'm gonna start by slicing some parsley, dill, and spring onions. To that, I'm gonna add some melty cheese. Give it a nice toss. This one's gonna get cooked on the same long slice as the one before, so let's see if I can cut another one. Now what I like to do before I put the toppings on is to give this a little toast. That way I'm gonna give the bread a little bit of a crispiness and it's not gonna become soggy from the toppings. That's nice. Alright, let's put the toppings on. By the way, this toast was called the piquant. I don't know why, there's nothing piquant about it, but hey, we loved eating it, it was our favorite. And off we go back under the grill. Boom, done. This is still very hot, but I'm super excited. It's been so long since I've had one of these. It's the combination between the fatty cheese and these fresh herbs that just really works. Alright guys, I hope you give these toasts a try. They're super tasty, they're different, and they're very sentimental to me. I hope you like them as well. Roll out!